Hey everybody, how you doing? This is Jason Root from Root Health, and today's presentation is tissue restrictions, the types, and how to address them. There are 5 types of tissue restrictions that we look at. There are short and tight muscles, long and tight muscles, trigger points in the muscles, fascial adhesions, and deep spasmodic muscles. Short and tight muscles, the description is the nervous system basically tells the muscle through, because of a persistent motor pattern or overstrain, to hold a shortened state in the muscle. The example is like sitting. Sitting is a persistent motor pattern, causes shortness of the hamstring and the calf tissues at the knee, or the chest pulled forward by bad posture. And we can see this by this guy right here. You can see where the chest is pulling the shoulders forward by gravity. We're getting tightness in the quads as it crosses the hip and hip flexors. We're getting tightness at the flex joint in the knee, at the calves and the hamstrings. And so that is where we get short and tight muscles. The problem is it's usually not the area where pain is felt or where it feels like it's tight until you go and stretch it. Then you realize, it's tight. And so right here, you might see the chest muscles. That's where we might feel it. And the hamstring muscles, where they're crossing the knee right there. Those are our 2 examples, although there were plenty more from that sitting picture. And how do we address the short and tight muscles? Well, we address the short and tight muscles by stretching and fascial release for the short and tight muscle. So we see a chest stretch right here. And we see an example of a hamstring foam roll right here. And both of those can help release the tightness that is being held in those short, tight muscles. Another thing that you can do is strengthen the antagonistic muscle, which means that the muscle on the opposite of the chest, which in this case would be the lats and the traps, you would strengthen those to actually hold you in a better position so you don't get that the nervous system telling the muscle to be tight in the first place. All right, now what we have is we have the opposite, which is a long and tight muscle. So this is a muscle that's pulled long and tight by a lack of strength in that muscle or short antagonistic in the other muscles, which in this case would just be the opposite. So we see the tight trapezius. We see where if this joint is pulled forward from the front, we're going to get this tightness in the back. And so this is usually the site of pain. So we go back to this guy and we can see the chest muscles pulling that forward, the neck muscles pulling forward, those front neck muscles. And then we see the long trap muscles back here. And so as a response to being pulled forward, so you don't just get pulled forward by gravity and into a lump of goo on the ground, these muscles will become long and tight. So once they get pulled long, they will become tight to keep themselves from getting pulled longer. So that's a nervous system response that they have. And so how do we address this? Well, what we want to do is we want to stretch and roll the short and tight muscles, which are the antagonists. So we do actually the same thing for the long and tight muscles that we would have done for the short and tight muscles. So for long and tight muscles, we want to address short and tight muscles. So you may roll or vibrate the long and tight muscles as well to kind of get them loose so that they can open up a little bit after you address the short and tight muscles. Stretching usually feels good, but may lead to more tightness. So if the muscle's already held long, do you want to elongate it? If you do that, you may coax the nervous system into actually creating more pain, more tension in that muscle because it's already held long. It's already stretched. Don't stretch a muscle that's already stretched. So you do want to strengthen the long, tight muscle. So you want to teach it to be shortened into its normal state. So you can add some tension into it. Yeah, you can do a little strength training on it. All right, then what do we have? Trigger points. Trigger points go along with long and tight muscles. So a lot of those long and tight muscles, in order to keep themselves from becoming more long and tight, they'll form trigger points. And another thing we call them is knots. And that is almost literally, not quite literally, but almost literally, forming a actual knot in these long strands of muscle cells that we call muscle fibers. And so it's almost like they're tying a knot in them to try to shorten them to keep them from becoming longer. Again, to keep you from becoming a big old lump of goo on the ground. So a trigger point is a hyperirritable spot, a palpable nodule in the taut bands of skeletal muscles fascia. Typically occurs in long, tight muscles. All right, and how do we address this? Well, you can address them directly through massage and fascia release, but then that's only going to be kind of a Band-Aid on something that's persistent. So you are going to want to go back and do what? We're going to want to stretch and roll the antagonist or the short and tight muscles. If everybody sees a theme coming here, going on here, then there is. All right, so what's the next one? Then we're going to go to, kind of another type of tissue restriction, which is what we call the fascial adhesion. Now, fascial adhesion is when the collagen fibers of the fascia in between the muscles or individual fibers. So a muscle is made up of a lot of individual little strands of muscle or muscle cells called muscle fibers. You don't need to remember that. You just need to know that there's fascia in between all these and in between the individual muscles. So if they get stuck together, they're not going to move very well. And so, they get stuck together by scar tissue or other metabolic wastes. And so you're going to get these apart, not by stretching, but by fascia releasing, foam rolling, vibration, or by manual therapy. If you have somebody do that for you, that works a lot better. And then we have what we call deep spasmatic muscles. Now, deep stabilizer muscles like the one we see here and some others around it, like the psoas right here. We're not showing some of the other muscles that might become spasmatic. But these are deep stabilizer muscles that will detect that there's some problems in the area. Maybe, those short type muscles and long type muscles are causing an imbalance in the area. And so they're not holding it quite correctly. So the nervous system, in order to protect that area and to protect the biomechanics of that area, to protect the structural things that are going on there, some of the structure that's there, it might decide to create a spasm. This is why a spasm can come and go. Like if you throw your back out, it just comes, and then at some point, after it's been sore for a few days, it just kind of leaves you. So this is why they come and go. And how do we address the deep spasmatic muscles? We have to address the muscle physiology of the entire surrounding area with mobility. Now you got to remember, mobility is not synonymous with flexibility. Flexibility is range of motion. Mobility is flexibility combined with stabilization and the ability of the body's neuromuscular system to stabilize and reach range of motion in a balanced manner. So that is it. Thank you very much, folks. And I hope this helped you out. I hope this helps you out in your routine. Let me know if you need anything from me. You can contact me at the number and or email down below, or you can go ahead and go onto the website